potent advice, and inspiration from real self-made millionaires. Welcome to The Eventual Millionaire with your host, Jaime Masters.
Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. Today we are talking about company values. Woohoo! Okay, so if you're a small business, do you actually care about company values, and should you? That's what we're going to go over, because a lot of the times you hear about companies like Zappos or Buffer, and they have amazing company values, and they're hard and fast, and they know exactly what they are before they ever started. But as a small business owner, most likely you started your business and you started chugging along, and you weren't like, oh, I should create my company values. It's something that comes up later. So why even bother? So let me give you a couple reasons why. And then what we'll do is go through a step-by-step process to really break it down and make it as simple and effective as humanly possible. Because we only want to do this if it will actually make things better in our company. We're not doing it to waste time. That's not the point. So why would you even care? If you're a small business and you only have a handful of employees, or even if you have 50 employees, having a company value set of lists that you rule your company by is important as you grow. One of the things that I've seen quite often with my clients is when issues come up, it becomes one of those things where we're like, we're not really sure why that happened. Why do we have to fire that employee? They didn't seem right. Why did we make that decision? That didn't feel like us. Okay. So those pieces will start to come up over and over in your business. And what we want to do is we want to create a set of guidelines, values, rules, whatever you want to call them, that you already know that we can test against. Okay? For example, let's say you have an employee and you're like, is this employee fit for us or is it not a fit? One of my company values, and you can actually see that painted back there, we'll definitely put a picture of it also, is positivity. And I had hired somebody that was an Eeyore, let's just say that. And so every time I had him on one of the calls, I would be like, that's okay, right? It shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it made all the difference in the world. Okay, so getting rid of that piece and really being very, very clear on what matters to me along with my team is huge. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, though, is decisions. So we can actually look at your company values. This is what we should be able to do once you're done with the real ones that really work for you, is if you have a decision coming up, you look at your company values and you go, does this decision, A or B, align with my values? We should be using it as a decision-making tool for the whole company, no matter how small you are at this point. So that way we have a frame of reference for what you're building, because what I don't want you to have is looking forward in the future, you build something and you don't like it. That can happen big time when you're hiring employees and your company culture just sort of gets away from you. Because when you start putting yourself as the top level of the business, you can't be in every single little piece. So your company values for everybody else really matter, and you getting very clear on them, because it is an evolutionary process. This is not necessarily something you set and forget, right? like an infomercial. We want to make sure that it's something that evolves with you and your whole team as one. So we're going to take a stab right now at creating your first set of company values that we can start with, that you can feel really, really good about. Ready? Okay. Step number one. You need to get very, very clear on what your personal values are, right? And you might have seen this and it might seem a little wishy-washy or woo-woo or whatever. But to me, you knowing what you actually care about, really important. And you might have inklings. You might have been able to go through your history and really pay attention like, yes, I care about integrity. Woohoo! We've also included a big old checklist of values. So you can look at that list and see what feels good versus what doesn't. Most of the time when you look at a checklist, you can go, yeah, I care about that. Don't care about that. And we can start to figure out which ones you actually align with. The other thing that you can do, and I highly recommend you doing this not only for you, because your personal values are very, very important, but also key members of your team. So if you are big enough to have key members of your team, I would highly recommend you actually sending this video potentially to them with the checklist of all of the values and have them start pulling out what their most important values are also. Okay? Okay, some other questions that you can ask to start pulling some of these pieces out because I think it's really important to do, yet it's hard to look in your brain and just flush it out. You can like sit in front of that checklist and be like, I don't know, I have 30 that I like. So what I want you to do is ask yourself a couple of these questions, and you can do this for your team also. And we'll have a worksheet that you can download at eventualmillionaire.com/values. So you can go ahead and get the checklist of values along with a lot of these questions and this whole step-by-step. So you don't have to remember it if you're driving or in the gym right now. So number one, what are your best accomplishments? What are the things you are most proud of as either a business owner, maybe a wife or a mother or a husband or a father, and maybe as a kid growing up? What were those things that really made a difference to you? Okay, so that's number one. And it can be anything or just taking in data right now. Number two, how do you want to be looked at on your deathbed, right? What are the things that matter most to you? So what do you want somebody to say about you at your funeral? You've heard this question most likely quite a few times, but it really does make a huge impact on what is most important to you, because once you're gone, and all we have is our legacy. So that legacy is really the point of this core values. Okay, so that's number two. Number three, I want you to ask your best friend, somebody that knows you really well. It could be a husband, wife, or it just could be a best friend that's known you for a while, or a brand new best friend. But what I want you to do is ask them, what are my best positive aspects as far as what I value, and what are the negative ones? And the reason why I'm asking for the negative side, number one, your best friend should be honest enough to be able to tell you the stuff that's not good. But when you flip those negative ones on their head, it will be easier for you to see what some positive ones are that we could put on your company values list. Personally, I don't like putting negative stuff on your company values list. I feel like considering positivity is one of my values, that's not something that I align with. But being able to ask your best friend what is a negative side so you can actually see what you care about based on that is extremely helpful also. So those are three questions you can ask. You can also have your key team members ask those same questions to start trying to flesh out what those are. Then have them all submit to you. Okay, so we're going to have a big old list of values written down. Okay, so that's step number one. Step number two is to really put those all together and figure out which ones are the most important to your company. Okay, Buffer has 10 of them. I think it's easier to remember between 3 and 5, maybe 6 at the most. And the way we want to start trying to pare them down is to really go, what is unique about our business, right? What is most important and different than all the rest? Because everybody's going to say that integrity is important. I mean, I hope you're going to say integrity is important, right? Because it should be, which is awesome. And yet, that kind of should be a given in business. I know it's not in any way, but gosh darn it, it really should be. So what I'm saying though is I want you to really have that clarification of what really makes you unique and different as a company. Okay, so one of mine is we care about outcomes. I'm a coach. I care about the results that my clients get because it reflects upon me. Most companies might not say that outcomes are really the thing. But to me, I don't sell digital programs that are just digital because I don't feel like people will do them because I care about outcomes. So if somebody buys something from me, I need them to have an end result. And if they're not going to do it themselves, I'm not going to sell it just because I can't feel good about that. So while to me, you could also talk about that being integrity, hopefully, right? I want people to actually have results from what I sell. But to me, really clarifying that that is what I care about. I think testimonials are my gold. It's kind of sad, hugely important. And so that is the number one company value that I've got. Does that make sense? So when we try and start fleshing out what's important, I would not only look at that list and see how many times things are said more than once. So let's say you have your key team and you had whatever the word is, maybe it is outcome, right? Results, 3 or 4 or 5 times come up, depending on how many team members you have. You know that that's going to rise to the top. Okay. And then I would put them in a list as far as how many times they were brought up. And they could be brought up none at all, right? They're very close personal values. So it could be all over the map. But what I want you to do is start going through and just crossing out the ones that don't seem very unique or different. The ones that are like, yeah, I've seen this 17 times on company value list. Right? We don't care about that. Okay. Because we want them easy to remember. We want them to have passion behind them. We want them to be something that when you tell your team, you feel really good at, not like, and then we care about integrity. Thank you. Right? Okay. So that's step number 2. And let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, or send us an email so that way we can evolve this so you can get better at this also. Okay. So step number 3, and this is where I think most people don't necessarily do this. They like write them down and then they put them on a wall. To me, when we start writing them down and start figuring out the pieces, we want to test them. Please, step number 3 is see if it works first. So before we even create the wording or anything like that, what I want you to do is start looking at your past decisions, whether it be firing an employee, whether it be a big pivotal decision that you had in your business, moving, whatever, creating a bigger office. Think of the ones that were really successful and think of the failures. And I want you to test these words, these values, based on the decisions you've already made. Okay, I think Zappos talks about this also. But I think one of the biggest things is that we want to see what has already been consistent with us, because that means that our personal values are aligned with the decisions that we're making. So you create that big list, right? Hopefully you pare it down to like 10 or so that way it's not too overwhelming when we go through the testing process. But what you want to do is you want to go, okay, our A players, those amazing people, do they align with which ones of these, right? When we fired somebody, which one didn't align? Are there any specific words that didn't align, like I said, with the positivity side? Okay. So is there any reason why we fired this employee that is on this list? The opposite for any decision that you're doing, go through a failure. Try and figure out one epic failure. Maybe you started a new product and you were like, oh gosh, that wasn't even close to what we should have done. And maybe for me, maybe it didn't align with the outcome. Maybe it wasn't getting as big of a result. I actually did cancel a product that I had. It was a 2-week program. I was very, very heavily involved. It was not a digital program. But to me, it didn't get the results that I wanted. And so we were like, nope, no way. I want ridiculous numbers of testimonials, and if I don't have that, I can't feel good about it. There we go. Didn't align with that. We got rid of it. Okay. We had gotten rid of it before, of course, we had done the company values. So going back through and going, was that aligned or was it not? Between these values really make a difference. Okay. Write those down. By then, hopefully you'll start to have a couple rise to the top even more. Because again, I want to make sure that you're actually paring it down so much that you remember what these things are. Because if you don't, it's not helpful. It's only helpful if everybody can get behind them and really remember what they are. Okay. So it's funny, I asked a bunch of the millionaires that I've interviewed for little pieces of what their company values and how they found them. And Justin over at Conversion Fanatics was saying that he instills it in all of the employees. And they, of course, started creating their company values when they started getting employees. So they wanted to make sure that they had a very core focus. And there's our Kaizen, relentless experimentation, listen, have fun, solve problems, build for long-term, confidentiality, transparency, and teamwork. So the funny thing is, I'm wondering if I can make him say them without ever having him look. I wonder if he can repeat all of them, because that's a lot, right? What is most important though, and this is what he says, that our most important one is Kaizen, which is continuous improvement. So even if you have quite a few, we want to make sure the ones that are most important to you rise to the top. Okay? All right. The other piece that Justin said, which I also think was amazing, is what do your customers care about? What do your customers think are different about you? So I might even start thinking when we're going through the testing process is what would our customers say about our company? Go check out your Yelp reviews. Go check out any testimonials or Yelp things, any reviews that you have to see what sort of language they use on that different service level of product that you provide comparatively to everyone else. And if they have negative reviews, then you can look at that too and see if those align. All right, so step number four, once you've sort of gone through all of that, I want you to pare it down. So ideally 4 to 6. Again, you're going to have to remember, pretend I'm going to quiz you within 2 weeks. And if you don't remember them within 2 weeks, it's too complicated, okay? So pare them down to make them easy to remember. Now, that being said, you can have a main statement, like Buffer does this specifically. You can have a main statement, and then you can also put more to it. You can explain it a little bit more in a document. That's totally fine. But for me, I put the main statements on a board, painting, whatever it is that you want. You can put it out somewhere so people can actually see them and have it easy to remember. When you are hiring somebody new, you want to make sure that they come up right away and go, is this new person aligned with our company core values? And I would actually ask them, when you're doing the hiring process, ask them about what these values mean to them. That way you can really find people that are aligned with what you're looking to provide and create in the world, because your vision is probably huge and you need those people that have got your back and have the same type of values as you. So invest the time the best you can with doing these core personal and company values. You can even do this for your family, by the way, if you've got kiddos. And then what I want you to do as the final step number 5, is once you've tested them, once you've pared them down, I want you to give them to your employees in a way that really shows that you care about them, that you care about the organization. I would present it to them and also maybe put it up. Because what our goal is to have everybody within the company be all in and all behind them also. So they might pick one that they love. They might be able to extrapolate on it a little bit. You might be able to do it on your team meetings where you talk about them a little bit more. You really want them ingrained in your employees, not because you said so, but because they actually care about the values too. If you're trying to build a company that's more than just about the money, we care about the people. So make sure that they're all behind it. If they have suggestions, go ahead and say, we're all open to suggestions. These might evolve over time because we are a unit and we're going to evolve also. So I hope you love that. Please let me know if you have any questions along the way. Below, we're going to definitely put in more information from some of the millionaires with a step-by-step process so you can follow it and have those company values, because making decisions in your business is hard enough. If you don't know what you actually value, it's 10 times harder. So take the time in advance to do this. Invest in your company, no matter how small it is, so you can figure out what matters to you most. I hope you enjoy this and the whole process. I am here for you. Have a fantastic day. Bye.